Dubai, the miracle city, the new Hong Kong.
I'm Amir Paivar and we are here in Dubai 1 year after some of the biggest banks in the world crashed into extinction. As part of our Aftershock series, we are here to take a look at how the credit crunch has changed people's working lives.
Just last year, this oasis of consumer capitalism was still the Middle East's high-rolling city of dreams. At first, Dubai thought it could weather the economic storm, but when it hit, the downturn had a devastating effect here. So is the dream over or just on hold? There was a time when any hotshot in Dubai might have owned a car like this. Nowadays, it's just a dream. But if you can't buy your Dubai dream, you might just be able to rent it.
Hey man, do you have the need for speed?
Calvin Guys rents out supercars to petrol heads and wannabe millionaires willing to pay 500 dirhams for 30 minutes of high-octane thrills and spills.
When I left Germany 1 year ago, I had a vision. Then I went through hell to launch this business here. But now I got it. And now I live my dream.
Good morning. Hey, nice to see you.
And it seems to be a dream people are prepared to buy into.
This is the new Lambo.
All right.
It's convertible.
Right.
But today I reserved this car for you.
All right.
So at a time when some of the biggest investment banking companies in the world were going down, you were starting.
Yes. Many people told me, yes, come back. Yeah, I said, no, I can't. Yeah, I must finish my work here. It was not easy to get any financial support. I spoke to so many millionaires and billionaires from UAE, from Qatar, and they loved my idea, of course, yeah, but I think they were too busy with their falling shares, and they had a lot of headache. So I came in the wrong time, maybe, yeah. But okay, I said, okay, so I will do it by myself.
Calvin's business model is a completely new one, but his modus operandi is not. He finds his clients in the lobbies of expensive hotels or by flaunting his wares by the roadside.
How did you first get to know about this?
We saw the Lamborghini pull up next to us, so we started taking photos of it, and there were another couple Ferraris and Aston Martin there, so we just hung around the cars admiring them, and Calvin himself come up to us and introduced himself and his business and said he's a business guy, you know, if you guys are interested to take him for a ride.
Interestingly enough, the credit crunch has also helped Calvin to launch his business. When the markets tanked, numerous high-end sports cars were put up for sale by owners desperate to leave Dubai with as much cash as possible.
So I'm looking for second-hand cars, but with really low mileage. And this is the right moment now to get such cars. Many people have to leave the country, you know, because it's maybe no more business here, yeah? And they can't take the car back to Europe because it's too much expenses. Yeah, custom, taxes, you know, this is. And so they have to leave the car here, yeah?
One of my customers told me when we are on a ride for half an hour, man, I feel like a playboy, like a celebrity and like an outlaw. And this in half an hour for 500 dirham. Come on, yeah. And we cruised along the beach and was looking for some nice girls.
There are no Lamborghinis or beautiful women here. It's 6 a.m, but by this time the city's invisible army are already hard at work. These impoverished immigrant workers come from South Asia. Without men like these, Dubai as it is today would not exist.
Dubai skyscrapers didn't build themselves. They're made of steel, concrete, and the sweat of laborers, hundreds of thousands of them. It's 40 degrees here right now, and I'm not having much fun making television. Just imagine what it must be like for those guys.
Work on this building site is harsh and dangerous. There's little or no safety equipment, and many of these men are living on site in crowded and unsanitary conditions. It's all a far cry from the opulence and luxury that typifies this country's carefully crafted international image. Poorly paid construction workers are close to the bottom of Dubai's class system. But there is a hierarchy amongst them. The metal cutters are the worst off. Then come digger operators, then the truckers. Agha Shapur comes from Kabul. Despite his humble job, the credit crunch has hit him badly. A lack of finance led to the cancellation of multi-million-dollar developments, and the knock-on effect on those at the bottom was immediate.
In the
past, there was much more work. We had another lorry, and I used to drive that one. We had a separate driver for this. But then we had to sack him, and now I do all the work myself. Last year there was loads of work. So much I was on the go day and night. But now it's every other day. It's just piecemeal. Things have been picking up in the last 2 months, but up until then there was no work at all. Why is it happening? Well, I don't know. Some say there's an economic crisis in the world. Others say there's some other reason, but what would I know about that sort of thing?
Like most of the workers here, Agha Shapur sends most of his money home to his family. As his financial situation gets worse, it has an effect back in Afghanistan too.
I'm married and I've got a son and a daughter. They're all in Afghanistan and I last saw them 2 months ago. I don't know when I'll see them next. 6 months? In 8 months? Who knows?
And who knows when they'll next receive any money. These days Agha Shapur is issued with a chitty instead of being paid in cash. But this allows his employers to default on wages when it suits them.
Last year, whenever I worked, they'd pay me straight away. But since this crisis, sometimes I haven't been paid for 6, 7, even 9 months.
Despite its overwhelming reliance on imported manual labor, Dubai's track record with these people is very poor. Worker abuse is well documented. The UAE has not signed most international labor rights treaties, and trade unions are illegal. The trucks are insured, but the humans are not. So Shapur and his colleagues have had to come up with their own solution.
The Afghan lads, some of us, we've put money in a kitty, so if anything happens to any of us, an accident or whatever, we can spend from that fund. Thank God nothing's happened yet.
In the middle of the desert, Shapur reaches the end of the line. This apocalyptic landscape is in fact a vast waste management facility baking in the midday heat. Destroyed buildings end up here so that shiny new ones can be built in their places. This is not really the image Dubai wants to project to the outside world. As soon as the site security saw our cameras, we were told to stop filming and made to leave. But some people have glimpsed opportunity in the midst of the downturn.
Good morning.
Rula Hanoum is a Palestinian-Lebanese businesswoman.
I'm in your office.
And since the credit crunch hit, she's actually making more money than before.
Okay, the first 10 containers are leaving tomorrow.
Her company manufactures furniture in the Far East.
23rd we'll start working.
And with Dubai's property developers now looking to save money and hit looming deadlines, her combination of cheaper furniture and speedy delivery is proving very popular.
The great thing about this building is there's going to be no high rises around it, so the view is going to be unimpaired for at least the next 10 years.
This 45-story hotel apartment complex is nearly finished. It's a busy time with numerous subcontractors now having to coordinate their work. But unlike the demolition site I'd seen before, the working conditions here seemed much better.
Health and safety.
Ruler's company have built fully furnished mock-up apartments inside the tower. The idea is to show her clients what the furniture they're buying is really like.
This is the first mock-up we did. Okay, the artwork was just indicative. It's going to be changed. All the draperies, all the upholstery is all done by us. Here, the interior designer felt that the leather color was too dark. Some technical changes for the bed head, the cover on the bed. When the designer saw it, he said we should change it.
Then we are off up to the 45th floor to see what will become luxury penthouses.
This will be one of the 4 penthouses, 2 smaller ones, of which this is one, and 2 much larger ones on the other side.
Wow.
The villas in front are new, so there's going to be no high-rise buildings put here.
So when will this building finish?
It will be finished and commissioned by the end of the year.
Oh, just end of 2009?
Absolutely. I'm ready to take guests at the beginning of January.
That's very quick.
Things happen quickly here.
Is that the case with other projects as well?
Unfortunately not. Different projects, depending on how far advanced they are and how committed the client is to continue investing, have either progressed as normal or slowed down or been put on hold.
When you say a project is put on hold, what exactly does that mean?
Different things to different people. But basically it means that either the client has stopped doing work on it until he reevaluates the feasibility, or his maybe financial position becomes easier, or that the contractor has stopped working because he isn't getting payments on a timely basis, so the project is on hold. Or it's on hold because the client is looking maybe to turn it around and change the nature of the project. Many things to many people. But as far as we're concerned, it's usually not good news.
90% of Dubai's working population are foreigners, and this multicultural collage means maintaining business relationships at a personal level is both an important and very delicate process.
Relationships are terribly important. You have to understand what is important to the person you're dealing with. I mean, we're such a multicultural society here. I know it's a cliche, but it's really true. And mentalities are different. So maybe when you're dealing with a Western banker, okay, you're very pragmatic and clear and straightforward, and you tell them what your requirements are. And that's the end of it. When you're dealing with somebody from the region, then you have to be a little bit more intuitive. You have to read between the lines. You have to be careful not to offend.
Our next stop is the headquarters of one of the biggest flagship developments in the city. The multi-billion-dollar Dubai Pearl.
Well, Dubai Pearl is a mixed-use development. It's a place, it's a city, it's a destination. It's actually a city within a city. So, and we like to say that it's the workplace, they live concept.
When can we talk to you about doing some branded furniture, specialized for not just the hotels? I mean, the hotels the designers will do, but maybe doing your own line of furniture for people who take up accommodation.
Actually, that's a very interesting concept, and that's something that we would love to talk to you about later on.
It all looked very impressive. But right now, the Dubai Pearl is still just a large hole in the sand. The developers say this landmark project will be completed, and that Dubai will rise again, bigger and better than before. But will it? In part 2, we meet a lawyer helping the victims of the property crash and take a desert safari to check out how the credit crunch has affected tourism.
Property on Siobhan Live, Dubai Eye 103.8.
Hello, good afternoon. And
Real estate was the engine that powered Dubai's unprecedented growth, but it also distorted the economy. And when the property bubble burst, the effects were devastating.
Property on Siobhan Live.
And welcome back, 4001. Once again, that's our text message number if you've got any questions at all for us or for our guests. And it's always a pleasure to welcome to the studio Ludmila Yarmalova, who is a partner with Al-Saya Advocates. In fact, let's say...
This is Dubai Eye, Middle East's first talk radio station. And this 2-hour live program is called The Property Show. Ludmila is a regular guest. She's actually a lawyer. And since last year's crash, she's never been busier.
Sunita, good afternoon. Would you like to tell us your question?
Well, the question is, I have just got a property in Jumeirah Village South, and once we moved into the property, we have found out that there is no gas connection.
Sunita, let's see if Ludmila has some advice for you.
Well, there are several things you can do. I mean, number one, I think the more effective way to do it is just to gather as many investors or as many residents in that development as possible and form a group. Because without filing a civil case, nothing is going to get resolved. That I will guarantee.
Ludmila has gone into business with a partner from Dubai. Under Emirati law, foreign lawyers don't have the right of audience in court. So Ludmila has teamed up with Abdullah Hassaya and works under his license in order to practice law. The bulk of her work these days is related to clients who have lost out in Dubai's property crash.
And this is where the palm is, and so here they're going to build 4 75-story towers. Developers are not refunding the money, and therefore investors are looking for alternatives. And this is why they come to lawyers. They're trying to first find out, what rights do they have under the law to claim their refund. And number two, if that is not practical, what are the alternatives? And the alternatives are often just basically modifying the terms of their arrangement with the developer.
Any luck in that department?
And I work in, I try to help. And basically it comes down to negotiation with the developer where we're trying to reduce the price per square foot, we're trying to reduce the payment plan, and if that's why they come to lawyers, because often investors find that if they're acting individually, they don't really achieve much progress. Whereas if they're going through a lawyer's letter is a lot harder to neglect or ignore than an individual investor.
The Dubai property market became a real estate fantasy land, paid for on the Never Never and populated by investors. They dreamed of money for nothing. Instead, they frequently got nothing for their money.
Dubai was fueled by greed that's coming from everyone, the government and investors alike. If anything, I think it's the investors who lost, many of them who lost sense in the process because they're so motivated by greed. I mean, I have so many clients where who invested millions and millions of dollars literally on the back of a paper napkin, and that's a good scenario. I've got clients that parted with their money, and again, I'm talking about millions of dollars, where there's not even a document in place. All they have is a copy of the check because they were so motivated to try to get on that wagon before anybody else did, thinking that they were going to get better price, better terms, better conditions, and so on and so forth. So, they kind of, in the process, they lost common sense of, okay, what is it that we're paying money for? And, they come to me now, and it makes it a lot more difficult to represent them, especially because you don't even really have anything to refer to. I have one client that invested in a tower that doesn't exist and that was never launched.
Lacking oil wealth, Dubai's economic growth was based on finance, property and tourism. This boat is one of many that take tourists on cruises up and down the Dubai Creek. The owner is Suresh Lalji, who now runs one of the most successful tour companies in Dubai.
I moved to Dubai in 2001 to retire, to enjoy life basically. But after 1 year of retirement, I got fed up. We are proud owners of 5 boats today. This is the biggest one. 75% of our business today comes through the internet. And the good thing about this is cash money paid upfront. I don't have to depend on tour operators and wait for them to pay. That has kept me going, and I think that we will be able to go through the credit crunch and we'll make it.
This is dune bashing. It's a key part of the so-called desert safaris Suresh organizes. Convoys of 4x4s take tourists for a stomach-churning roller coaster ride. It's a sensation many a global investor will feel familiar with.
Now, the credit crunch has affected Dubai like it has all the other countries. Basically because Dubai depends a lot on the tourism. And the tourists which were coming from Europe, from Russia, from US are not coming as many as they used to. The hoteliers have fortunately reduced the prices because the prices were very high. And that has encouraged India and China to bring their tourists into Dubai.
Here we are in the middle of the desert. We've lost our driver. If you're not finding him, we're going to either walk all the way to Dubai or we have to hitchhike. Following the credit crunch, Dubai too seems to have lost its way. It's a city that epitomized rampant casino capitalism, an economic model whose devastating aftershocks are still being felt around the world. Whether or not Dubai finds the road back home will depend on how well it adapts to the new global environment.